Hi guys, how are you all today evening? Good evening. Today evening we will talk about a very great, revered and worshipped figure in the Hindu mythology. This name is Maharishi Valmiki. Today we will talk about this person's life story. There was a dacoit in a forest in Dandakaranya in Madhya Pradesh, which is present Madhya Pradesh in the country of India. Madhya Pradesh is a central state in India. This dacoit was a very dangerous person who lived in the forest, and he had this habit of looting and plundering innocent passers-by and pilgrims and take the loot to his home and carry out with his daily living or his livelihood. His parents and his family depended on the income from this loot, regardless of the fact that they never bothered about where this money came from. This dacoit Ratnakar, the name of the dacoit, was very callous and indifferent to the plight of those who he looted and plundered. He just bothered about his own material interests and carried out this profession to earn a livelihood. One day, while he was on his duty and he was roaming around in the forest looking out for a prey, he suddenly saw two renunciants, two sages who were passing through that forest. Dacoit Ratnakar accosted the two people and demanded money and valuables from them. The two sages told him, "We are sages, we are renunciants. What valuables or possessions can we have when we are happy with our ochre robes, our kamandalu, and some small things which are used for our meditation and worship?" Dacoit Ratnakar was adamant. He wanted to loot and plunder these two innocent and revered sages. Suddenly, one of the sages asked Dacoit Ratnakar, "Are you happy with what you are doing?" He said, "Yes." The sage asked him, "Do you know that what you are doing is a sin?" He said, "Yes." The sage asked him, "Even then you are doing this?" Ratnakar, the dacoit, said, "Yes, I do, because it is my profession and I like this profession." Then the sage asked him, "Do you know, or are you sure that your family and your parents who are sharing the loot from this profession of yours know about how you are bringing the money or food to them?" He said, "Yes, they must be knowing that I am a dacoit and I am looting and plundering people to feed them." The sages said, "We don't think so. I don't think your wife, your family, or your parents care about what you do to bring bread to their doorstep." Dacoit Ratnakar was surprised. "How is it possible? They are my family. They must be knowing what I am doing to bring food to them." They said, why don't you go and ask them? Immediately, Descartes Ratnakar, who was full of evil, got suspicious. When I go to ask them, you too will escape, he said. The sages smiled. They said, you tie both of us to a tree, go back to your house and ask them your question and see what they reply. Then come back and talk to us. Dr. Ratnakar said, yes, I'll do that. He tied these two people up, went back home, and asked his family, his wife, his children, and his parents whether they were aware of what he was doing to bring food and shelter and clothing, etc., to them. They, all of them, unified in a unified manner, said, we don't care what you are doing as long as you are bringing this money. We are not going to share your sins, your sorrows, or your good deeds with you. It is your karma and you are 100% responsible for your karma. We don't want to be a part of it at any time in this birth or in the next. Descartes Ratnakar was stunned. He never expected such an answer. He went to the sages who were tied and wept. I was feeding these people, and for that I was committing all sorts of sins, and I was thinking that they will share my sins and my karma with them, with me, but they have bluntly refused to do so. So today, here I am, alone and carrying a karma of sins, karma, bad karma, and bad destiny. Please tell us what I should do. The sages smiled. One of them then said, I am the sage Narada, the divine sage. I wanted to just test you and to find out where you stand in your life of crime. From today, you sit here and meditate and repeat the word Rama and keep meditating till you realize yourself. Descartes Ratnakar said, I am not able to spell the word Rama because I am a sinful person and I cannot do so. Then the sage told him, you start saying Mara. Mara, Rama, 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 it will become Rama on its own. You keep meditating on yourself and then you will see the result. The Descartes sat under a tree and began chanting Rama, 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 Rama. He did so, though he meditated for so long that his body was covered by a white ant hill. When he came out of this ant hill after several decades and years, he was called Valmiki because he had come out of an white ant hill. A white ant is called Valmiki and its ant hill is called Valmiki. This Descartes thus became sage Valmiki, and then it was this sage who wrote the most worshipped and respected epic of all in Hindu mythology, the Ramayana. I wanted to tell you about this life story to show that if even such a sinful person as Descartes Ratnakar can become a sage Valmiki, what about us common people who have led an otherwise uneventful and peaceful life? We should all pray to God that God should take mercy on us and make us behave like a sage, a self realized soul, a renunciant, and a servant of God, so that after completing various assignments for God, we go back to Him as quickly as possible. Self realization self realization of our own identity as a part of Brahman and that we are a part of spiritual soul is the real aim of life. We should always think that we are just a spark from the eternal flame which has come out by mistake and got entangled in this sorrowful material world with a mind body complex. We should always pray for not that we don't take another birth in this ghost body, etheric body, astral body, or causal body. We should come back to our true identity as a soul spark and go back to Godhead. Kindly let me know what you think about my talk on the life story of Dacoit Ratnakar turned sage Valmiki, the author of Ramayana. If you feel that my talk makes some sense, kindly subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so that I can keep informing you about my future videos. Please pardon me for any mistake or error I have done in my appearance, diction, spelling, grammar, etc. Because while I am doing so, while I am talking to you, I am concentrating only on the spiritual and material matter, and hence I cannot concentrate on these frivolous things. Till we meet for our next video, it is good night from TSV Raghavan.